Hi guys, so today we're going to be making onion cheddar biscuits. I'm using a recipe by Serious Eats. It's an awesome blog and I will put a link in the bio down below so that you have the recipe on hand. And if you'll see in the corner there, you see something that looks like shredded cheese in that little purple and white bowl. It's actually butter, and in a minute I'm about to show you why it looks that way. Okay, so I have frozen butter here. This is a trick I learned from Alton Brown. And whenever you're making any kind of biscuits that require you to cut in, or even pie crust, cut in butter, it's so much easier to just shred it and then work it in with your fingers. So you'll see me do that here in a little bit, but this is a great trick. Frozen butter, shred it up, and it'll be so much easier to work into your flour. Okay, so here you're gonna see me just mix up the ingredients. This is onion cheddar biscuits. So in addition to the flour, which you saw me add just a little bit more there, I realized I shorted the recipe, and then I also floured my surface. I'm gonna add cheddar, and then I've got spring onions. That's my butter there, and you're gonna see me work it in. I actually use more than the recipe asked for. I think the recipe said like 2 tablespoons, and I used about 4, and then the rest of that shredded butter I saved, and I'm gonna put it on my biscuits later. But it kind of works in, and it works in so much easier and so much more evenly. I'm also gonna add baking powder here, and then spring onions or green onions. They're small, they're not quite a full onion yet, they've got a milder taste, and they work perfect for this kind of biscuit. So that's the salt that I added, kosher salt, and then baking powder, and then everything gets mixed together, and then we're going to work our biscuits in with milk.
Sing along as we run through all of these white hills, oh so deep. Passing by cars, we wave hello. The wind won't slow us down, so here we go. Hey winter, it's nice to see you again, with all my friends around me. Hey winter, it never feels too cold.
Okay, so I'm creating a well here. It's going to make it so much easier to mix the biscuits in. I have a cup of milk, but I'm not going to use a full cup. There's probably going to be like a couple tablespoons left over. Either way though, you mix it in the middle and then work it around, and it's going to be able to give you an idea of the consistency that you want. You want your dough to be sticky, but not too sticky and not too floury. You want everything to work together, and so you want to mix your milk in slowly as you stir, and making sure that once all the pieces come together, and you'll see that soon, it'll be perfect and you'll be able to work it onto your floured surface. You can always add more flour to work out the consistency, but you don't want to add too much milk.
Run through all of these white hills, oh so deep.
Okay, so I'm working this onto my floured surface, and some people use a rolling pin, but I don't want to overwork the biscuits, and I feel like it's just better for me personally to use my hands. You can use a rolling pin here if you want, but I'm not trying to be too precise. I'm also not going to cut these biscuits out with a round biscuit cutter, and you'll see that here in a little bit. The idea here is to work and fold. So I found here that my flour was a little too sticky, so I added a little bit more flour to it, and then I'm folding. Work and fold it, and that's going to create the layers that you find in biscuits, those fluffy layers as you pull it apart. That's what this is doing. And so you're going to watch me here work and fold it, and then I'm going to work it into kind of a rectangular shape and cut my biscuits out. But I fold it about 3 or 4 times, and that seems to be pretty good, and it doesn't make it so that you overwork your biscuits.
snowflakes fall on the evergreens and they cover all the streets. Sing along as we run through all of these white hills, oh so deep.
Again, here I am just cutting him into squares. You don't have any leftover dough. When you do have leftover dough, sometimes it's awkward with the way the shapes come out and they don't cook evenly. But with this, I've just got the leftover dough, perfect, and I'm gonna keep them, basically I'm pulling them apart, and you can see here how there's some layers, but I'm gonna push them all back together in the end. They're gonna cook and they're gonna be able to rise a little bit better. And then here in just a few seconds, I'm gonna be brushing them with melted butter, which is that leftover butter that you saw that was shredded.
Snowflakes fall on the evergreens and they
Okay, so these guys have been going for about 20 minutes, and I think they needed just a few minutes longer. They weren't quite brown on the top, and there you go. That's a few minutes later, maybe like 2 or 3. And they're hot and steamy, and the cheese is melted, and the onions are sweet, and they were delicious. They're just a little salty. I didn't need to add anything to them. They could just eat them like they were with that cheddar and the onion in it, and we loved them. They were great.